Wrong title slide up there, nonetheless. I honestly didn't think we were going to get off the ground here today. I'm so glad that we did. I want to officially welcome you to SEM Mondays Live. My computer just completely freaked out. And it's okay. We're back. We're here. It's all open. It's all good. It's all working. And thank you for the kind words and the greetings. Awesome to have you with us, set of Jeet and Judith and Barbara Ann. Thank you for the kind words. And as you come on in, please say hello. Let us know where you're joining from. I want to wish you a warm welcome to SEM Mondays, my live weekly open Q&A show here on YouTube. And it is gotta be the clunkiest platform in the world. It's one of the most popular platforms in the world, and I'm sure that creates a lot of distress that their platform experiences. But my gosh, with the financial resources of Google, you guys could do better. You really got to do better. And I'm saying you guys because they listen, right? They pay attention. Probably not to this. They probably won't listen unless we talk about something that we're not supposed to talk about, like vaccines. But I'm going to talk about it anyway and see if we can have an intelligent, rational, I think middle road conversation about a topic that is it's urgent, right? It's pressing. It's this pandemic is not going away. In fact, it's getting more complicated. I've been saying that since the very beginning because of what I know about virus. Some of the very unsettling things that I've heard recently is that it's the unvaccinated people who are causing these, like the Delta. They're blaming the Delta iteration of COVID on unvaccinated people. And, you know, the nature of a virus is it's going to mutate, and it's going to mutate faster than they can be identified. And there's an intelligence to them. There's no question about it. Viruses are very good at staying alive, and they can sense somehow threat. They can sense danger. I saw this, it first came into my awareness probably late 90s when I was studying. It was probably 2000 when I was actually working at Healers Who Share and studying with David Allen Slater. And, Healers Who Share, world's largest manufacturer of vibrational medicines. Very impressive organization. And yet, one of the things that I kind of fell into is that viruses will mutate faster than I can energetically test. The problem with that is with an approach like Healers Who Share that is a pathogen specific, right? They're offering the counter vibration to very specific viruses like the adenovirus. Like there's a whole bunch of different adenoviruses. All viruses, there's a whole bunch of different ones. Why? Because they mutate, right? They get more sophisticated. They get more lethal. They get more dangerous. So, with people that actually worked at Healers Who Share, they couldn't go to David, so they would come to me for help. And this one dear woman, God bless her soul, would come in with something really nasty happening, right? Some digestive distress, like intense digestive distress. And I would test, and the reason why I'm saying adenovirus is because that was the one, right, that led me to these really big insights and clues. And she'd come in the morning, everything would be okay, she'd get sick, she'd come in and see me, I'd test, give her let's say it's adenovirus D. All of the adenoviruses have alpha attachments, so adenovirus A, adenovirus C. This was adenovirus D, or at least let's use that for this example. And she'd be great. Maybe 4 hours later, 5 hours later, she'd be back, sane, and she would get better, right? She would get like, she'd feel okay, and the nasty symptoms would stop, right? And then 4 or 5 hours later, towards the end of the day, signs and symptoms pretty much exactly the same. And she would take what I suggested earlier, not having any positive impact. She'd come and see me again. Now it's adenovirus A. what just happened there? The virus realized it's being killed, right? Literally, in that methodology, that's what you're doing. Another one of the problems with approaches that will even ones that are considered integrative medicine, if you're killing it, you're creating another problem. You're stopping one problem, but you're creating another problem. And if you don't kill them all fast enough, they'll mutate, right? And they mutate far enough so that they can't go, the vibrational frequency of adenovirus D no longer works because now it's adenovirus A and it's a different vibration. You know, one of the cool things for me is, and this is one of the things that I discovered and wanted to contribute to Healers Who Share, and David refused it, was one formula for all virus. And we can do that because, yes, all viruses have different characteristics, but they also have this, like they're all part of the same morphic field. If you understand morphic fields, I think you'll really get this example. But, you know, there's I'll use, it's because a lot of people don't understand morphic fields. I talk about it a lot in our online courses, but let's just keep it super elementary. Let's use color. And let's say viruses are green and bacteria are blue and parasites are yellow. Now, if you look at a color scale, especially if you're a graphic artist, there's like thousands of yellows and thousands of blues and thousands of greens, maybe even more. And then you can mix them all together, right? And make other colors. But if you just stay in that family, there's a whole bunch of them, and yet they're all yellow, right? Or they're all green, or they're all blue. And that's what we're able to do with source energy medicine. That's why, transformation number 1, transformation number 2 are just, one for transformation bacteria, one for transformation virus. And, I go into this in really good depth and detail in our fundamentals of source energy medicine. But it's important to know if you ever take one of those, you should take both of those. So if you take transformation virus, you should always take transformation bacteria. Why? Because they can actually mutate. As far as I know, I think this is yet to be discovered by science, and yet energetically tested all day long. And even worse, even I think, like more graphic, is when you're sick, right? Because if like T2 is working and then stops working and you add T1 and you get better, that to me I think is really clear indication that the pathogen mutated, right? So, and here too I go into really extensive detail in the Emergency Preparedness Masterclass, because if you want to be prepared for what's coming, in our future, the virus ain't it. The vaccine ain't it, because the virus is way smarter than humans are. And in terms of staying alive, they're not as smart as humans are in terms of making money. And that's, a big driving force behind the whole get the entire population or world vaccinated. And, I've been saying since the very beginning of this, the vaccine is not the answer, not long-term. Short-term, it could help to open up the economy, it could help to open up businesses again. But because viruses are going to mutate, the immunity from a vaccine is going to be very short-lived. They're seeing it already in Israel. The Delta variant was the vaccinations in Israel were about mid 80% effective against the different variations that are the result of the COVID virus mutating. Now they're in the 60s and it's dropping. Now they're talking about a booster. Well, if you boost with the exact same vaccine, it's not going to work for these more sophisticated mutations. So, it's hard to not say that I'm not vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine. I think that before I put anything in my body, whether it's food or beverage or a supplement or a medicine, I'm going to do a whole lot of research. And there have been at least a dozen really good documentary films, legitimate documentary films with legitimate experts in them that talk about the potential dangers of vaccines. And I was on a webinar with Jonathan Otto last week, and I couldn't stay on it. It was alarming, the statistics that he was using. I'm not sure exactly what his sources were, but the statistics on injured people from the COVID vaccine and dead people from the COVID vaccine were alarming. And this is the first time that I'd seen some emails, and they didn't seem to, it just seemed kind of just spreading more fear. And, I don't agree with a lot of the anti-vaccine arguments. And, but I think there's an intelligent way of going about it and making informed decisions about your health and your well-being, because it's not just a temporary thing. And this is the very first mRNA vaccine that's ever been used in humans outside of some tests. So we won't really know for years to come. But it's something that we all are living with, and it ain't going away. And if you follow Dr. Osterholm, who is an epidemiologist, former White House epidemiologist, he saw this coming. He saw this epidemic coming, and he absolutely says that it's not going to be the only pandemic that we experience. There are going to be others, and he explains why. And I talked about this way back early last year. So you could go back through and check out some of the replays from them. They're all on our, there's a playlist for all the recordings of SEM Mondays, and you can probably check out the, just put in keywords where I talk about that stuff, and it should show up. But, a week ago, I wasn't here live because in the United States it was a federal holiday, and it was the observance of 4th of July, which is Independence Day, right? It's America's independence from England. And, I think about our freedoms and, freedom, being free to make choices about what I put into my body. It's a very and freedom of movement, right? So if a person chooses to not receive the vaccine for whatever reason, if they're going to be limited in terms of what they can do, and then ostracized for their choices, at least the United States has been so divided, and in so many ways, politically, racially, economically. And here's yet another one. We got the vaccinated and unvaccinated, and then, compound some of those subgroups, and it makes for more passionate division, right? Which is not good for anything or anyone. Certainly not good for healing anything or anyone. So I hope you're paying attention to what's going on. There's so much fake news. It's hard to get a bead on exactly what's true and what's not. Dr. Osterholm, I think, has been one of the, neutral in terms of not politically oriented. He doesn't have an agenda. He just is an amazing epidemiologist and wrote a book, I think in 2017 or 16, that was essentially predicting what we've been living through for this last year and a half. And there's an updated version that his publisher asked him to write a new chapter to, a new foreword to, and that's available. And it ain't a pretty picture, that's for sure, in terms of what we're going to be dealing with. So my freedom, in a lot of ways, for me, comes from being able to master source energy medicine technology, right? none of us can control world events, right? We can try and influence things. It's hard enough for any of us to co-create our own reality because we're not in this game alone, but to a large degree, we can influence, we can co-create, everything that we explore in source energy medicine in terms of transforming the subconscious mind, transforming resistance, getting each of us to our ideal energy level. All of that greatly influences not only our physical health and well-being, as well as mental, emotional, and spiritual, but it also influences what I experience on a day-to-day basis. Some of the biggest challenges to achieving and sustaining my ideal energy level is fear. Fear is not only horrible for my energy level, but it's horrible to the immune system. It's horrible to so many physiological, fear and stress. If we could figure out a way of completely unplugging, and you can't completely unplug because fear is an energy, fear has a morphic field, so does the things that lead to stress, and we wake up in it, we go to sleep in it. Even when we're dreaming happy dreams, we're still exposed to a lot of stress, a lot of different kinds of stress, a lot of environmental stress. From electromagnetic fields and things like that. But, I spent most of Independence Day last Monday in just this enormous sense of gratitude for source energy medicine, gratitude for knowing when I start to, because, I haven't had a cold or a flu or a stomach upset or anything since 2005, and yet I've almost gotten sick like probably hundreds of times in all of those years, dozen times a year or so, I would imagine. But I have like zero tolerance for feeling lousy, and I'm very sensitive. So between the low tolerance and the being sensitive, like I know when I'm not at my ideal energy level because I start to feel something physically, right? And then I know exactly what to do, step by step by step, in logical, rational order. It's not just, trying to throw, 100 darts at the dartboard and hope that something hits the bullseye, And I lived like that for many, many, many years before source energy medicine, just desperately trying to find an answer. But, I created the Emergency Preparedness Masterclass as a way, because so many people in our community wanted to know prophylactically what are the best practices to stay healthy, and should signs or symptoms occur, what can I do about it? So I think the Masterclass certainly helps me to just know, and the handouts are absolutely, I think they're very clear, very helpful. And now with the new Source Energy Medicine mobile app, you can actually make source energy medicines with your mobile phone if you have the mobile app, and the mobile app is included with the emergency preparedness class. And that class goes way, 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 way beyond COVID. It's for flus and stomach upsets, and certainly, absolutely COVID, any virus that would cause whatever signs or symptoms that it's going to lead to. And of course, all of the mutations of COVID virus and the next thing that's going to create the next pandemic. So, if that kind of empowerment is important to you, if your freedom, if your health, your vitality is important to you, like how can you not invest in the masterclass? And I know there are a lot of people who have lost jobs, lost homes. The economic recovery globally is going to probably take years if we're able to recover from this. And while all of what's included in the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide is free, all of our master classes and all of our online workshops, there's an investment for. And in part, that's how we're able to monetize the organization and be able to keep the Quick Start Guide and the charging labels. Charging labels could easily be, a couple $1,000 investment if you want to explore source energy medicine. And I know that even if they were $10, there'd be 2 billion people on the planet who couldn't afford them, and that's why they're free. And for those who are having temporary financial difficulty, we have a scholarship fund. So if you're ever interested in whether it's a Source Energy Medicine Fundamentals online workshops, or we just recently had a new master class that's all about healing on the soul and emotional bodies. And that to me, I mean, I love everything that we've produced over the last couple of years, and yet that master class, I really, 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 really hope that that at some point you explore the work in there, because it is deeper and profound than we have been able to get to previously in terms of transformation, balance, and restoration. And the reason why we're able to I explain all of the reason why we're able to do that work now. We haven't been able to even 6 months ago or a year ago. But it's exciting. It has to do with positive shifts in global consciousness, and we're running out of time. So things are shifting so that we can hopefully correct the course that we're on as a human species, and save each other, and hopefully stop destroying our planet and our natural resources in the process, so that we actually have, air that we can breathe and water that we can drink, and hopefully stop wearing masks everywhere we go. So, it's interesting, so much stuff to think about, and throughout it all, I try and not buy into the fear, and it does take a certain level of discernment to be able to figure out truth versus falsehood. One of Dr. David Hawkins, one of his books that is absolutely one of my favorites. I found out about it from Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer was a huge fan of Dr. Hawkins. Truth versus falsehood and power versus force. I think Wayne Dyer sold more books for Dr. Hawkins than Dr. Hawkins and his publishers ever sold before Wayne became a fan, which I think is such a blessing, because that work is critically important. And in Truth versus Falsehood, he teaches us how to muscle test, right? How to muscle test for truth versus falsehood. So it seems crazy to muscle test a blog post or muscle test a news report, regardless of the channel or the source that you're consuming it from, to get to the heart of it. And that's why I think, for me, if I wasn't able to energetically test things, the world would be a much more scary place, right? But being able to energetically test things, and even in the Quick Start Guide, I believe it's in the Quick Start Guide, I offer a really simple way of learning how to do finger muscle testing, finger kinesiology, and it's an absolutely fantastic tool. And there are dozens of different variations on that. That's not the only one. That's one that is way easier to learn how to use than a pendulum. And I can do finger muscle testing, sitting at a cafe under the table without seeming, causing a stir or a scene or anything. I could do that walking through my local organic co-op, right? And one of the reasons why I shop at a local organic co-op is because there's less to muscle test, because everything is organic and nothing is conventional, nothing is GMO. So I hope all of that makes sense. And, so if you're ever interested in one of our master classes or any of our online workshops, and you're experiencing temporary lack of financial well-being, just talk to us, right? And I try and do this with as much compassion and understanding, and to because I look at my life when I was in situations like that, and I had so much shame at times that I would rather go without than ask for what would be really, really helpful for me. And I can't control what you're going to feel, but I want you to feel good and safe and welcome in requesting what you want, what you need, what would be supportive of your journey with Source Energy Medicine. So, the scholarship fund is funded by our community. So if you're thriving financially, if you're experiencing financial well-being, please consider contributing to our scholarship fund. there's a page. There's a page on our main website, which is source-energy-medicine.com, where you can make a contribution to our scholarship fund. So, hope all that makes sense. And, just one more comment about the finger muscle testing thing. Dr. Bradley Nelson, in his book, The Emotion Code, which I absolutely love, I think is a phenomenal, phenomenal tool, certainly complementary with Source Energy Medicine. Some overlap, right? Some redundancy in a lot of ways. And yet, Dr. Nelson teaches, it's got to be like 20 different techniques for muscle testing, and he teaches them beautifully. And he has a lot of videos, a lot of resources. I haven't watched any of his videos on muscle testing, but I re-listened to the Emotion Code audiobook not that long ago. And it's really cool listening to his instruction for all of the finger muscle testing. And it's impressive what he was able to compile and put together and keep super simple. But I think I'm always thinking about how can I empower myself, because we don't know what's going to happen economically. We don't know what's going to happen pandemically. We could certainly make some calculated guesses at best, but there's so many things that are uncertain. If being able to energetically test and have confidence in it, right? I've been energetically testing since the 90s, and at this point, I have a high degree of confidence in my intuition, and I trust it impeccably and without hesitation. And yet, it's nice to have a way of energetically testing to be able to follow that up, because intuition works really, really well when things are nice and peace and calm, right? Peaceful and calm, which is rarely, when you really need that kind of intuition the most. It's when, things are heightened, when there is fear and uncertainty building. That's pretty much unavoidable, right? So how to stay grounded, how to stay present, how to take that intuition and then be able to ask some really good questions and energetically test to get some guidance. Unless you're a channel or a psychic or you have angels that whisper in your ears, figuring out how to energetically test is just a phenomenal way to either confirm, validate what I'm feeling, or just to shine the light on there's something else going on, right? Sometimes it's hard to discern what's going on in the heat of the moment. So, So I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to pause here real quick, have a sip of water, and see. I think there are some questions in here. Angela shares a question about my water. I'm using filtered fridge water, but have about a week. The water in labeled bottles show signs of orange deposits in the bottom. So that's likely, likely not a great water filter, or the containers that you're using could have something in them, or you're not keeping a lid on them. But that's most likely if you have charging labels on them and the water level is above the charging label, then there's something that's either in the water or in the bottles, and there really can be no other, or if you're not keeping a lid on it, right? Stuff in the air that's getting in the water, so it's getting in the bottle. Same thing. But I had experiments going on with bottles with charging labels and blank charging labels, and after 10 years with caps on, I wasn't able to get anything to grow in them or anything to degrade the efficacy, right? So they were still 100% effective, or the efficacy was still 100% after 10 years. I stopped the experiment after 10 years because I figured that's a pretty dang good shelf life, if you ask me. And the only way I've been able to get anything that looked funny or tasted funny was to have either no charging label or no blank charging label or the cap off. And then, it's just kind of logical, right? Kind of common sense. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful. I'd like to segue into the group energy healing session. If you are new to source energy medicine and you don't know about it, it's known as the non-material aspect of source energy medicine. When we're done here, you can put those words into the search bar on YouTube or on Google, and you'll find a video where I talk about it as best as I can talk about it. It's important for you to know a couple of things. Number one, it's completely safe, right? We're not. It's not cathartic. We're not trying to, if the goal or the challenge that you want to work on is related to emotional trauma, right, that you experience, or physical trauma that you experience, when we do that work, we're simply transforming that trauma calibration-wise from darkness into light. So we're not stirring things up. We're not stirring things up that you then have to process. Or if you look at it from a pathogen perspective, we're not, killing bacteria that then your excretory system has to hopefully get out of your body without creating a Herkimer reaction or a healing reaction. We're simply transforming an unfriendly bacteria into a friendly bacteria. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions that calibrate low into thoughts, feelings, and emotions that calibrate high. Everything energetically has an equal and opposite counterpart. The work is phenomenally fast. It will be probably 5 minutes or so. On your end, a minimum of distractions. So turn your ringers off, turn your stuff off. I turn my camera off so I'm not distracting to you. And there'll be chanting in the background that sometimes YouTube allows, sometimes it doesn't. And the the chanting has nothing to do with the work. It's simply to let you know that we're still broadcasting. There's something going on. I am actually working. And I always invite you to choose one goal or one challenge that you'd like to focus on. And the reason why I say one at a time is if you have 5, it's really hard to track progress, right? It's hard to see in terms of measurable results what's working and what could use some more work. So choosing one, and there's, I think, massive benefit. And I say that because feedback that I hear from folks in our community. Some folks have used the replays from these group energy healing sessions as part of their daily wellness plan, right? It's part of why they believe that they've been able to stay well for all of these months. And, the worst thing that can happen with any aspect of source energy medicine, the energy work is the exact same technology, except it's called the non-material aspect, N-O-N, material aspect, because there's no material substance. There's no charging labels, there's no bottles, there's no water. So I hope all of that makes sense. Same technology, except the energy work is the fastest, it's the most direct, most efficient way to experience the technology. So I'll go ahead and get things set up technically here. If you haven't watched that video, definitely check it out when we're done here. And if you have any questions before we jump into it, please type something quickly into the chat. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and start moving in that direction. And so minimum of distractions on your end, simply allow, simply receive. A lot of people like to lay down and close their eyes. They believe it helps to increase the allowance and reduce resistance. So please only do that if it feels safe and it's comfortable and it's appropriate for wherever you are. And just, take really good care of yourself. Do whatever it takes to get you to a really nice, happy feeling, comfortable, safe place, right? And if you're like in a busy, noisy place, maybe come back and check out the replay from this or one of the other SEM Mondays when you can, sit however you're most comfortable, however you think you'd be able to receive this blessing, these gifts, in the best way possible, right? So, cool. And then when I'm done, I'll invite you to take a deep breath, and we'll, right before I come back, I'll check the chat for last minute questions, and we'll wrap up for today. And God willing, we'll be back here next Monday again live. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, it's absolutely one of the best ways that I can continue to help you. I can continue to support you on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. And if you click that really cool bell icon, YouTube will let you know when I'm live or when I upload a new video to our YouTube channel. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath and get as comfortable as you can. And start to think about what that thing is that you would like to receive. if your eyes are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open and come back here and now to SEM Mondays here live on YouTube. I've been, the non-material aspect of source energy medicine came about, I don't remember how many years ago. I'd have to literally look it up, but quite a few years ago. And it took from the time that I started to receive what we now know as the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, was about a year till it was a method that I could really do with consistency with others. And it took literally a year to figure out how to teach people, how to teach. And in the beginning, I thought it was only going to be integrative wellness practitioners who were going to want to learn how to use it. And I think we have probably about a equal amount of folks in our alumni community who are practitioners of one form or another, and those who are not, those who simply want to be able to facilitate energy healing sessions for themselves, their family members, their neighbors who are open to receiving these gifts. So it's kind of crazy to think about, and thousands of sessions probably over the years. And group sessions are very different, right? I can't do everything in a group session that I do when I work one-on-one with a person, and yet I can do a lot, right? I can share a lot of the gifts and the things that are most important to your physical health and well-being. I'm able to do with a group, and every group is different. Every SEM Mondays, and I've been doing this for a long time now on SEM Mondays. And yet each one is very different, and it's because of you. It's because of those who are experiencing these. And if you do know about morphic fields, which I mentioned much earlier in the broadcast, our morphic field expands every time someone watches a replay or watches with us live. And that's exciting to me because it means greater potential and possibility for each of us, right? Things will happen faster. And just very graceful and surprising ways. So right before I came back on, I checked the chat, and Angela, I think there's some confusion about how. Well, let me back up. High levels of iron in your water are potentially very dangerous to your physical health and well-being. Just Google it and see. So getting the iron out of your water, because it's getting into your body when you shower, it's getting into your clothes, it's in your cooking, it's in everything. So you got to figure out a way of being able to filter that out. A whole house filtration system would be likely best. They have come way down in price over the last bunch of years. And make sure that, our body needs minerals. So distilled water, I don't think, is the answer, because distilled water is completely devoid. It's dead water. So you got to figure out a way of being able to get the excess amounts of any minerals, right, out of your, so that you're not exposed to them on a long-term basis. And gosh, it's been a long time since I researched this, but I believe that there's a direct correlation between high levels of iron in water and some very, very serious long-term, progressive health diseases like diabetes, some blood issues, lots of different things that are bizarre, right? I think well water can be amazing, and yet, there's certain things that have to be careful about, right? So take a really good look into a really good water filtration system. At minimum, get your shower heads filtered and get something in your kitchen that's going to filter the water coming out of your tap. So I think it would be really good to go back and watch the how to take source energy medicine video. It's in the quick start guide. It's on our YouTube channel. Because some of what your questions are, there's some basic fundamentals that I don't think you have clear. So just to clarify, when I make a new source energy medicine that has a charging label on it, I fill that bottle, mason jar in your case, with good quality water. It sits alone, right, at least a couple of inches between, an inch or more space between other source energy medicines, with a lid on it for an hour. After that hour, you can combine it with any other source energy medicine. We're not making the fusions. Fusions are different charging labels. So you likely have, if you're following the sample protocol, you'll have fusion source energy medicines, and then at a certain point, you'll probably add non-fusion source energy medicines. But the fusions are like transformation fusion number 3 is its own charging label. You're not taking 13 different source energy medicines and mixing them together. So I wasn't clear from your question what you were doing, but the transformation source energy medicine charging labels are the fusion. And then after they've all sat for an hour, you can take 8 or 16 ounces of the fusions, an ounce or more of the non-fusions, and combine them into a sports bottle and sip that throughout the day, or however you go about drinking your water. So hope that makes sense. But check out the how to take source energy medicine video if you haven't seen it in a while. I think it would be really, really, really helpful for you. But yeah. So, God willing, see you back here next Monday. Between now and then, stay connected in whether it's on our YouTube channel, on our YouTube community, which is Bizarre Community. I think it's an odd way of interacting, and yet I do my best to answer questions. So if you're watching this in replay and you have a question or a comment, something you want to share, leave it in the comments below, and I do my best to answer as many of those as I possibly can. And I wish you absolutely continued blessings on your journey with source energy medicine. Be kind, be gracious, be considerate. Think about wrapping everyone that you come in contact with, especially if it's someone who's like kicking you in the shins or offending your morals or values. Just wrap them in a blanket of unconditional love. And it can't make things any worse. If anything, it could make things a whole lot better. But, try and see everyone the way Christ saw everyone, which is the way God created each of us in our perfection and our divinity and our innocence and our sinlessness, and equal, right? We are all one in love. So everything else is, part of personality and ego and a massive hallucination, as the Buddha would say. So yes, indeed, continue blessings on your journey with source energy medicine. Bye for now.